After a 3-day retreat in Kigali, Rwanda, for the Nigeria Governors Forum facilitated by the United Nations Development Program, UNDP, Nigerian governors said effective leadership was in high demand in Africa. They acknowledged that Nigeria was battling a huge trust deficit, saying that there's need for dialogue to find a lasting solution to the problem. The governors also said that they were ready to understudy Rwanda's post-war development programs as critical takeaways. However, criticism continued to trail the retreat held in Rwanda by some concerned Nigerians. This is coming at the back of the just concluded BRICS summit in South Africa, in which President Kashim Shettima stated that Nigeria did not apply for membership of BRICS, which he said to be admitting 6 new members, which includes Argentina, Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE. Joining us now for a discussion on the just concluded BRICS and the Rwanda retreat by Nigerian Governors Forum is Professor Bolaji Akinyemi, Nigeria's former Minister of Foreign Affairs. Great to have you, Prof. It's a pleasure talking to you this morning again, Prof. Let's make sense of...
Thank you very much.
Bless you, sir. Let's make sense of what is happening now as regards, the situation of going to learn from Rwanda. Same Rwanda. And when I say same in quotes, Rwanda, I'm sure you know the full story, sir.
Good morning, Rufai. Good morning, Ayo.
Good morning, sir.
And good morning, Mr. Akinyemi.
Thank you, sir.
Kayode, I don't think we've met before, so that's why I'm formally saying Mr. Akinyemi. But now I will say Kayode.
I think we've met when I was in another TV station many years ago, but you may not recall.
Oh, all right.
Yes, sir.
Let me start on a joke, because I've heard you talk about Egungun, your earlier sector, and it reminded me of MK Abiola's advice. He said, to those being chased by an Egungun, they shouldn't worry. As they get tired, so the Egungun gets tired. He put it in Yoruba, which is even more appropriate. You know, when you think things cannot get worse, then they do get worse. I can't believe we will fall into the pit of shame by 19 of our governors going to Kigali, Rwanda, to learn how to govern. In any case, if I say things can't get worse next week, then they will get worse. First of all, what is the UNDP up to? Are they sending a signal to Africa that they prefer development to democracy? Is that the message they are sending to Africa? And is that the message our governors are going to Rwanda to embrace? Maybe we should have foreseen this. When, during the campaign, our politicians, some of whom are now in office, kept going to London, going to Paris, having meetings there about how they will configure development and progress and reconciliation in Nigeria. And some of us spoke out loudly. We called them out. We criticized them. It made no difference. They still continued. I am of that age when I remember Chief Awolowo, Sardauna, Balewa, Azikiwe. In all their campaigns, once we became independent, they never went to London or Paris or the United States as part of their campaign. They never did. During the Second Republic, Shagari, Awolowo, Aminu Kano, again, never left the country as part of the campaign. And now we have a crop of politicians. You know, we criticize the old school, but the old school seems to have more values, more patriotism, more integrity than this present lot. And when, with all due respect to you guys on the program, when you young people criticize the old school, I'm starting to wonder where this young school, the new school, got their values from. Definitely not from the old school. Definitely not from the old school. When I was a minister, it was a battle to stop people even attending embassy parties. Because at that time, you will have ministers, judges of the Supreme Court, you will find them attending receptions, not even given by the ambassador, at times given by, attachés. And the Ministry of Foreign Affairs will send out notes upon notes. IBB, whom I served under, will issue cautionary notices at cabinet meetings about not demeaning Nigeria by flocking to these embassy parties. And now, have we got a better class of politicians, of rulers of governors? Kigali, of all places? Yes, I do admit, and I concede, that the president of Rwanda inherited a terrible situation when he took power. Whether he had a hand in what happened or not is a debate for another day, it's a narrative for another day. But he inherited a terrible situation, and he came up with his own system of dealing with that terrible situation. And what did he come up with? Clobbering the head of the opposition, not aligned for human rights, not aligned for civil rights, a one-man rule, a one-man narrative. And yes, we could talk about it, whether when you are dealing with intervening conflicts in a country where there are so many ethnic nationalities, whether frankly it should be a one-party rule, which is a euphemism for a one-man rule, whether that is the solution. But he came up with that, and it seems to be working in Rwanda. But a word of caution here. We saw really one-man rule in a lot of the Francophone African countries. And when the strong man died, whether it is in Côte d'Ivoire or somewhere else, they descended into civil war. Well, maybe we should be the last one to talk about people descending into civil war, since we also had our own civil war. But I think the answer is still out there about whether it's going to be a successful experiment in Rwanda. Our governors have no business going there. The UNDP have no business taking our governors there. In any case, the UNDP has no business putting on a training program for our governors. What is NIPS there for? The National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies. Is it not there? We have several training, if you like, institutions The Nigerian War College is there. The Nigerian Defense College is there. These are Nigerian institutions that could put on training programs, retreat programs for our governors. They didn't need to humiliate us by going to Rwanda. And forgive me if I want to go into a deconstruction of the communique. It's not worth the paper in which it is written on. What are we doing to this country?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Ayo.
Okay, thank you so much, Professor Akinyemi. Always good to see you on the morning show, sir. Now, some people might disagree with your position on the Nigerian governors going to Kigali, because as had, what the reports from there is that it was an opportunity for Nigerian governors to see the milestones of the Kagame-led administration and how far Rwanda has come since 1994. And perhaps there's some lessons to be learned by being there. Do you not think that the world being a global village, we cannot govern in isolation? We must be exposed to other styles, systems, success stories to help to bolster our own system of governance and government. Again, what others would also say is that the taste of the pudding is in the eating. Having come back, will the governors implement some of the key take-home lessons from going to Rwanda? Is there really a problem in going to learn from people who have succeeded without looking as if you are weak?
Well, thank you, Ayo. I welcome disagreements. I'm a scholar, and scholars flourish with being engaged, in having disputations over issues. So I always welcome, disagreements. It allows, ideas to develop. But the narrative you've put forward as an alternative to mine, I don't think is one that I will say applies to us, because you look at the foundation of the house that is being built. If that foundation is what you want to copy, then, as I've said, you are emphasizing development over democracy. Is that what you want? If that's what you want for Nigeria, then let us say so. And then let us abolish our constitution. But the constitution we have in Nigeria is not comparable to the constitution in Rwanda. That is the substructure. And if the substructure is different, the superstructure cannot be the same. And that is the point that I am making. And in any case, will our governors learn? Learn what? When even, I'm not going to, you said you were going to put on something about a state where the governor and the deputy governor are at loggerheads. That is the kind of problem, because that is not the only state where this is. Have you asked yourself, why is it? Since the 1999 Constitution, principals and deputies all the way from the top, because don't let us forget Obasanjo versus Atiku, that went all the way to the Supreme Court. Why is it that principals and deputies have never got along? Is it in our character? Is it in the Constitution? These are the issues which I thought our governors would be faced with. But of course, if they go to Rwanda, they will learn the one-man rule, what he does to his deputy. So I suppose maybe that indicates to us the path they want to go. But on a serious note, on a serious note, we've got to sit down and decide what we want to make of Nigeria.
Okay.
And that will take me to, I think it was the intro by Rufai on BRICS. We were not invited to join BRICS. The Vice President has, at least he has clarified one point, which is that we didn't apply. I have read somewhere by one of our eminent former ambassadors that actually you don't apply to join BRICS. You are invited. So whether we then applied or not is not the case. The issue is that, and that's the language that Ramaphosa used.
Okay.
We were not invited.
Okay.
You want me to stop there?
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Professor Bolaji Akinyemi, thank you so much. We're grateful that you're always honoring us. And my prayer is that God will keep you strong and well, and that you continue to be able to speak truth to power. We will take a short break now, and when we come back, I will then be able to ask my question. Please stay with us. You're welcome back. We still have with us Professor Bolaji Akinyemi, Nigeria's former Minister of Foreign Affairs and an eminent scholar. Prof, there is something that's being on the back of my mind, and I'm wondering, is there something deficient in the kind of people that we elect into political office in Nigeria? Or is the problem that of the Nigerian people ourselves? I won't say themselves, ourselves, because I'm one of them. Why is it that we have elected into office people that seemingly are intelligent, they are educated, they're properly trained, they are well exposed, they have traveled around the world, and yet all the lessons that they have learned traveling around the world, going to London, Rwanda, and everything, they come back and they consistently fail to implement any of the things that you will think they learned from having been to London. Because you see some of them in London, they're on the train. You see some of them in the US, they're taking cabs and walking around. You see them on different platforms watching the likes of Boris Johnson on a bicycle. Not even a bike, motorbike, on a bicycle. You see the prime minister of other countries doing things. So what exactly is wrong with us? Is it with us as Nigerians, with our system, or with the people that we elect? Help us understand, sir.
Thank you. The question you've raised probably should be directed because you do get some of these people on your table from time to time. I think you should ask them. I've never been elected to an office, so I wouldn't know. I think it was my friend, your colleague, Dr. Abdati, who wrote a book on about the villa, whether there is some demon, in that villa that takes over, that even if you put a pastor there, what you are going to get will amaze you. But as a scholar, I often think that definitely all of us know we can do better. That is not rocket science. We can do better than we are doing. And I think that part of what has been wrong has been what I will call an elementary interpretation of functions by some of the institutions that perhaps is supposed to provide part of the checks and balances within the system. Some of those institutions are not doing what they should be doing. As an illustration, in clipping the wings of the governors, one of the mistakes we've made in this country is we seem to have over-focused on the presidency, on the executive there, and ignored the fact that, in fact, the power that have accrued to the governors make the president look weak. The governors are gods unto themselves in their states. Now, their wings could have been clipped by the Supreme Court. And yet, not only has eminent lawyers not taking some cases that they should take to the Supreme Court. I praise Agbakoba, for example. He's gone to court over the issue of federal character admission into secondary schools. But what I would have expected of him and of other eminent lawyers is to ask the Supreme Court to rule that if money meant for local government will not go to local government, that money should be kept at source by the federal government until the money can go directly to the local government. Because in destroying the local government, the governors of states have taken over the powers, the functions, the responsibilities of the local government unto themselves. They've become Caesars in their states. If those wings could have been clipped, I've just used the local government as an example. There are in other areas, we could have reminded them that they are humans and that they're only there for 8 years. And after the 8 years, they will come back like us and be part of us. So institutions have themselves to develop what I will call an intellectual basis in interpretation of their functions and interpretation of their laws. I'm sorry, our Supreme Court seems to be really elementary in the way they interpret their functions and their constitutions. I miss the times of Okuta, Kayode Shaw, Irikefe, etc., etc. So in a way, there's nothing wrong with us. There's nothing wrong with our people. When you look at the United States now, how can we say that, we are even bad in what we are doing? But the judiciary, because when the legislator that is supposed to perform its function is being taken over by the executive, it is the judiciary that can clip the wings of the executive, both at the national and at the subnational level. And they are not doing that.
So I was just going to say something before Rufai goes on to ask the question. I was just going to say that those people we're talking about were chairmen or members of state assembly, and from there they become chairman of state assembly or speaker of state assembly, then they become governor, then they become senator, and they remain senator for life. So they really don't come back to us.
Yeah, but you thank God for beavers, is it? Beavers, you call it? Because this last exercise has shown the power of correction. How many of the governors failed to get into the Senate because beavers was used? And that is the glimmer of hope we have, that power belongs to the people. Maybe at the next election, to governor or to the Senate, you are going to see more of this rejection politics by correct use of the beavers. So there is hope there, and we should look forward to the next set of elections.
Okay, can you quickly wrap it up with a BRIC conversation for us? The fact that a lot of people say, hey, we're not invited by the BRICS, does it mean that our international posture is not as great as it used to be before?
No. What has played out in the summit in South Africa is what some of us had anticipated as far back as 1987. I was the minister at that time. I warned Nigerians that the anti-apartheid struggle was basically over, and Nigeria will have to redefine its foreign policy and know that there are going to be competitors for its status. Nigerians didn't listen to me at that time. That is when I proposed the concept of medium powers. You know, BRICS is a variation of the concept of medium powers. Nigerians rejected my proposal, even though foreign countries that we invited accepted that proposal. If Nigeria has embraced and pursued that policy, we will be the one, in fact, who will have been determining the fate of South Africa, not South Africa determining our fate. What played out in South Africa is, let me call it spade by spade. Normally, I'm diplomatic in my language. South Africa has simply shown itself as an enemy of Nigeria that is determined at all costs to checkmate Nigeria wherever it gets the opportunity to do so. Whether it is the xenophobic attacks on our people there. Say South Africa thinks ahead. It already has its eyes on the election to the Security Council of the United Nations. Now it's got BRICS. It's got two of the superpowers on its side and intends to use that to checkmate Nigeria. And yet, this is the time when we are saying we should be closing down embassies. Our embassies are badly financed. There are good people in that ministry. There are good ambassadors who are prepared to do their best. But you cannot clap with an empty hand. You cannot perform your functions when you are not properly financed. South Africa continues to open embassies, continues to provide funds for it. We are the ones who have become our own enemies. And what has played out in the BRICS invitation, even though it's a setback for us, it provides us with an opportunity if we are going to grab that opportunity. And what is that opportunity? There are more states outside BRICS now than there are in BRICS. You've got Chile, you've got Turkey, you've got Indonesia, you've got Pakistan, and so on. These are also countries that are important. These are countries that Nigeria could approach and bring into an organization that is not going to be against the West or against the East. This is an opportunity for a clever application, again, of a new concept of medium powers. Are we going to grab it? It's up to those who are in power. Okay. On Saturday, this is not an advert, but on Saturday, the Academy of International Affairs is having an open Zoom town hall on BRICS, opportunities, and I can't remember the rest of the title, on Saturday, to which all professional elite, those who are thinking about foreign policy, have been invited to join, and we hope to examine the ABC of the opportunities that the rejection in BRICS gives to us.
So, Professor Akinyemi, just before we let you go in 1 minute, we've been talking about BRICS. Have we forgotten or done away with Mint? So we had the Mint countries, of which Nigeria was part of, Indonesia, we had Turkey, we had Mexico. So Mint, Mexico, Indonesia, Nigeria, and Turkey. Is that now a forgotten concept? Are we now, is the way forward BRICS? What's your take on this?
Thank you, Ayo. Mint is the way forward. That's why I referred to countries that are outside BRICS, who in fact may also feel that they've been snubbed by BRICS. Mint is there. And, you know, but somebody's got to grab that and pursue it as an initiative.
Hopefully, Nigeria might want to take a lead on that one with regards to pursuing Mint, since BRICS is not an option for them at this time. Thank you very much, Professor Akinyemi.